All right, hey guys, what's going on? My name is Chris Hawkes, and this is your best life to find. I'm laughing because I was listening to my podcast, and I guess they do all right. It still doesn't quite sound like me, but I'm doing okay with it. It's starting to get better. But what's really ridiculous is I've got all these videos because I'm recording all of my podcasts and posting them to my YouTube channel, chrishawkes.com, which is okay, except for man, it doesn't really look like this shit's making me happy. So I'm trying to work on that. And part of it is because you there's a certain amount of stress. I've actually had to start talking shit to myself about this podcast and about a few other things in my life that I feel like I'm falling short on. I mean, I haven't been working out like I should. I definitely am not happy with the quality of my podcast. But so I guess so fitting. The anger can make your life better. It's actually true. Now, little story here, and I used to be an asshole. I used to use anger as a tool to hide from relationships, hide from getting hurt, and just a general tool that I used to use. And in that format, when you use it in a negative context, no, anger sucks. It doesn't have any place in your life. But like this podcast or many of the other things I used to do in my life, it pisses me off that I can't be better at this, that I can't be more engaged on the video when I look at the videos, and I don't sound like I'm really me. When I listen to my podcast, I like the message. The messages are good. They're fine. I know this story back and forth. But the reality is when I listen to it, I'm like, where in the hell do I go when I sit in front of a microphone? It's just crap. And so I'm pissed off about it. Now, you probably can't tell because it's kind of a funny concept, but I am. It pisses me off that I can't be better at what I'm doing. I get frustrated, and in order for me to make that change and to achieve that goal, I use that anger as motivation. I say, screw this. I'm not going to let this happen. And the other thing is that motivation and that anger that I use, it drives me to do one more podcast because I will tell you, every podcast I do sucks. As far as I'm concerned, there isn't a podcast that I've posted so far that's worth a crap. And maybe that's just that perfectionism that for so long hamstringed me because I would do something like this and then I would look at it and I'm like, oh, that sucks. And that's another hurdle that I have is that I just can't do that. I mean, I watch these people do the things they do every day. I mean, Sydney Cummins, she's a YouTube star. She's a workout star on YouTube, and her goal isn't to be a star. I don't think her goal is to help people. She gives free workouts. You go onto her channel, you can watch her workouts every day for nothing. And that's an amazing concept considering most workout gurus want you to pay for their workouts to see them. Sydney's different. But in her case, what she does is she does one or two workouts every day. If she has something scheduled for one day when she actually can't shoot a video, you know what she does? She'll do two videos of her working out, two different videos in a single day. So I use her as inspiration, and that kind of pisses me off because she just upgraded her entire studio. She has like a gazillion followers, and she's rocking it. And I look at her, and not that I don't like Sydney. I think Sydney's a rock star. I do. My wife works out to her every day, and she's just a star. But I use that as motivation. It kind of pisses me off. Why can't I do that? Well, the reason I can't do that is because I haven't done what Sydney has done. I haven't put in the sacrifice to achieve my goals, to make my life the best possible life it can be. And so every day I wake up and I know that I'm going to do one or two podcasts depending on my schedule, and I'm going to grind through it, whether I like it or I don't like it, whether or not I enjoy what I put out there, it's going to get posted. You know why? Because that's the process. And Sydney and anyone else who has done what I'm doing now in the early stages of evolving into something that they really love or they want to be good at, you're going to see it. I mean, look at the internet at anyone who first started out and they're going to suck. And that's where I'm right now. I'm transitioning into the suckage. But it's about that inner story, that inner conversation. And I have that inner story down pat. I spend more time talking to myself than my wife would care to hear. In fact, she's like, sometimes my wife will tell me, what? What'd you say? What? And I'm over here mumbling behind the computer trying to figure shit out. But the reason I say anger can be your tool to make your life better is we all have to find our motivation. And I use a lot of different motivations for goal achievement. I mean, I will use just the goal itself. I mean, the idea of us transitioning from a conventional lifestyle to an RV lifestyle where we live full time on the road. You can't imagine the number of hours I spent talking to myself about how great the shit's going to be. In spite of what I knew. I mean, my wife and I must have watched 5,000 hours of RV videos on YouTube trying to understand it. And we did throw in some sailing videos in there too, simply because we I didn't know. I was actually, first I was headed towards buying a catamaran, if you can imagine that. But living your best life is about finding the tools you need to find the motivation to take action. I mean, a lot of us, we will talk about what we're going to do, and then we plan for it and we start in on it, but we run out of gas very quickly because we haven't found what it takes to keep us going. And in my book, I talk about how it just requires action and to remove the emotional aspects of it. And a lot of that is, it's a lot easier said than done sometimes. Sometimes your habits are to talk yourself out of it. This sucks, or I don't feel like working out. And the truth is, you do it anyway. And if you can't do it, then get pissed off because you can't do it and talk shit about it. I mean, I'm talking shit about myself right now because I haven't worked out consistently since we left Arizona 2 months ago. And granted, I can use the weather as an excuse, but I'm in there getting ready this morning and I'm thinking to myself, you know, I work in the weather. I used to work construction in the weather, and it didn't matter what the weather was like. I got out there and did what I needed to do. So today's a new day, and my motivation is I'm tired of being a weenie. So after I get done with this podcast, I'm going to go outside, and it's cloudy, and it's wet, and it's rainy, whatever it is. I'm going to throw on the proper gear, and I'm going to get my ass out there, and I'm going to get some shit done. Because that's what you have to do. Finding that motivation to live your best life, find it wherever you can. The point is, pick your dream and make it happen. Now, there's another side to this. Okay, so a little bit about me. So I used to own a karate studio, and I used to teach Kempo karate, and that was really cool. But how that got started was I was going into law enforcement, and I'd always been a decent fighter. But I'm thinking in my mind what most people think when they think about people in prison and working in a prison and working in law enforcement. I mean, you got to be a badass to work in a prison, right? Or to work in a jail. That's just not for any wimp. Not true at all. IPC skills, personal communication skills, are where it's at. I spent in the 28 years I worked in behind the walls, either in the county jail or in a federal prison, I never had an inmate swing at me. I never had to physically defend myself against an inmate. In fact, most of the times I would be putting my hands on an inmate and they'd just submit. They'd just turn around and give me their hands and accommodate me because I had a good rapport and good communication. But in order for me to get motivated to get ready for that, I actually joined a karate school, and prior to that I hung a heavy bag out in my backyard from like a 20-foot length of chain, and I would spend an hour and a half a day chasing that heavy bag around, punching and kicking the shit out of it. And even then I used anger. I would imagine it was some badass dude jumping me and I got fighting for my life. I used to hold my hands behind my back like maybe an inmate or convict or someone had taken me hostage, and all I had to fight with was my feet. And as ridiculous as it sounds, it was really great motivation to keep me out there and keep me going. Granted, when I got into the federal prison, and even before that when I got into the jail, it really wasn't like that. It was, most people are reasonable, even guys in prison. I mean, sure, you have your assholes. There are people you just got to watch yourself around. But most of the guys in prison are just like you or me, except for one thing. They made a mistake and they got caught. Okay, so that's a big difference. But when you find your motivation, what is it? You want to live your best life? Well, part of finding that motivation is to find what your best life looks like. I mean, even when you pick something great, like my wife and I, when we hit the road and got rid of our conventional house, that's a really good story. It's a really great goal to find the motivation to get it done. But there were a lot of hurdles in that. And even then, sometimes I would get pissed off at myself just to motivate me, and I would talk shit to myself about me being scared about traveling or pulling this big-ass fifth wheel around the country, just to motivate me to take action in spite of my fears. And it's a tool. The reality is that you have to find the motivation to do what it is you want to do to live your best life. And again, I'm going to say this probably every podcast that I put out here. You know what? This whole idea about living your best life, I talk about the American dream, but there's nothing wrong with that. except for the fact that if it inhibits your life, it keeps you from doing the things you love to do. It keeps you from, it doesn't add to the value of your life and the overall quality of your life, then that's where action needs to be taken, because you only get one chance at today, and you don't even know if tomorrow's going to come. I don't know if tomorrow's going to come. Now, if I face that, you know what? At least I got a taste of this. At least I got a taste of Bar Harbor, Maine, and at least I got a taste of Florida and Yuma, Arizona, and all the traveling we've done in between. We got to spend time on the East Coast, and it was cool as hell. But the tragedy is that we don't find the motivation to take those steps to get outside our box long enough to realize there's a big-ass world out there. I mean, and you don't want to miss out on it. I mean, and being different is scary. Find motivation. Why are you different? Why are you doing this? Well, to show all my friends that they were wrong, and that living in an RV isn't sucky, and that I'm not trailer park trash. I mean, I don't know. There were all kinds of things that went around in our heads to keep us motivated. And even now, when you think about this podcast, I know I suck at it. I suck at every podcast I do. And guess what? After I finish it, I post it. If you want to see some funny shit, go look at my YouTube channel, chrishawkins.com, and start from the beginning. And I'm trying to, this social media, this public forum thing, it's new to me, right? But if you go to my YouTube channel, you'll be able to see the progression of where I am, and even now, my videos are. I think this is probably the best video that I've done, because I've just kind of stopped giving a shit about what anybody thinks, and I'm just doing me now. But go watch my videos, or just go click on a few of them. There was a point there where I decided that I could use a green screen. And I'd use this green screen in my RV, and I had it all set up. I have it set up in there still, so I could actually do green screen and replace the backgrounds with different backgrounds. And then I had these button-down shirts and stuff, and I was just being this, like, your vision of what it means to be on video and make videos. And it's funny when I look back at it now, because it really isn't me. This is me. So, but I don't know. Between chasing the heavy bag around the backyard, and even now, if you want to be a podcaster, if you want to be a social influencer, then you got to do what social influencers do. Whether it sucks, whether you're happy with the beginning product or you're not, you have to move forward, and you can't let, perfectionism get in the way of that. You have to take action every day, and you have to produce every day. That's kind of why I've set the goal for myself to do at least 365 consecutive podcasts. Now that's a pretty high bar to hit. I mean, not a lot of people are doing that, but there's a reason for that. Is that it motivates me. I mean, I've said it a number of times, so I'm going to do it. And in the end, that's really what it's about, isn't it? Isn't it about taking your life from where it is now to where you want it to be? I mean, that's ultimately the goal. And it doesn't really matter what anyone thinks of what you're doing. I mean, in spite of the fact that I feel that pressure every day. I mean, I sit in front of this camera and I talk, and I sit in front of this microphone, and this microphone is scarier than anything I have ever met in prison, I can tell you that. It's the scariest shit I've ever done, and so is that video camera, But these are the tools. These are the tools I have to use, and I have to master if I'm going to become what I dream of becoming. Okay? And it's simple. I mean, that's just the way it is. And if you have to get pissed about it, then get pissed about it. I mean, I'm going to talk some shit, because the reality is that's who I am in a way. I'm not angry. I'm not pissed off. I value everything everyone says. But the point is, however you have to do it to live your best life, then grab a hold of it. If being angry and pissed off with the life you have to the point that you can't stand it anymore is what it takes for you to change something in your life, then do it. If you've been struggling to lose weight or to get into shape or to do anything you want to do, then start an internal dialogue with yourself about how much it sucks. Get pissed off about it. Be angry. It's okay to be angry with yourself about it. And if you're not achieving your goals and living up to your full potential, you should be angry with yourself. Because None of us, I don't know if I have tomorrow. Do you? Do you have tomorrow? How many years on this earth do you have left? In fact, how many days on this earth do you have left? That's really what it comes down to. So for me, I'm looking at this as an opportunity for me to get better at it. And the only way you get better at it is you keep grinding, you keep doing it. And if it takes talking shit to yourself about it, about how much you suck and how Sydney got a new stage and I'm sitting here in my fifth wheel, I told my wife this morning, I seen Sydney's fancy new stage, and I'm talking about Sydney Cummings, right? But she got this fancy new stage, and I'm watching this video about how they built it last night on YouTube, and I'm thinking I'm like I'm getting in deep with this anger. I'm like, well, why does Sydney get a new stage and I don't get a new stage? That's bullshit, right? Because this is my stage right here. This is it. I'm the corner of my RV. In fact, I told my wife, I says this morning, I said, I think I'm going to rebuild my stage. Well, the truth is, all things come. All things come. I've found my motivation. I have found my motivation to continue to do this because the reality is action is what matters. It doesn't matter even the quality of the action, as long as you get in the habit of taking that action every day, working towards that goal, and if it means talking shit to yourself and being pissed off because you've been a lop until now, or you're overweight because you can't get to the gym, so stand in the mirror and talk shit to yourself. Do whatever it takes to make that choice, to make that action, to live the best life possible. And you define it. I mean, that is the truth. You define it. So what's your life going to look like, guys? Anyway, the reason I do this isn't just for me, it's for you. There's nothing I love more than the feeling of someone saying, hey, thank you. You've made a difference in my life. And I did it when I was in prison, and I helped plenty of guys find their way and refocus their lives and get a new direction. And I thought, why not do it now? Because I love it. I love doing it. There is nothing more exhilarating than standing on stage and talking to people about the stories and the things my wife and I have been through and the struggles we've faced and how we overcame it and the tools that I've developed since then. And part of this is to make sure that this legacy isn't lost. I would hate that my grandchildren don't, or my great-grandchildren don't have the benefit of knowing who I am and what I have shared with the world and what I can share with them. And I'm not going to be there in person to do that. So part of this is about my kids and my grandkids and my great-grandkids and however long this thing lasts. But that's about it. All I can say is that, you know what? Find your motivation. There is a version of your best life waiting for you. And I'm here for you. I'm doing the best I can at this point. And there'll be a time when I look back at this one and I will have my fancy stage just like Sydney. Okay? I guarantee it. But until then, I'm just going to keep rolling. If you don't like it, don't watch it. If you love it, let me know. I would really appreciate to hear from you. And just remember, my name's Chris Jaquez. This is your best life defined. And today's the perfect day to start defining it. So until next time, just remember, today is your day. Make it a good one.